It's a Polish medal. I looked that up on the internet.
First of all, it's not technically Polish.
What do you mean, not technically Polish?
It's Russian. 1795, Poland was partitioned into three parts: Prussia, Austria, and Russia. And Russia got the largest part. This order was founded in 1325, and the white eagle is basically the symbol of Poland. It's on their national emblem. But they changed it. They took the original style of the award, they put it on top of the Russian imperial eagle, which is the eagle with two heads. Okay? So now it's a Russian order, and that's what this is. This is a piece that was awarded during Russia's rule of that portion of Poland. It's a really neat, this is 800 years of history here. This medal shows just how hard Poland's had it for the past 800 years. They've constantly been conquered and reconquered and fought back for their freedom throughout their entire history. You've got the #1 Polish medal, and superimposed on it, it's a Russian eagle. They're conquerors. It makes a statement.
Peace and greetings. So when I heard them speaking about the badge or the Medal of Honor, which he ended up selling for 30,000 notes, they spoke of the two-headed eagle, but he also spoke of Prussia. And we went over in regards to the authority that Albert Pike received, Frederick the Great of Prussia. But we'll go over some of the bullet points we went over in the reading. The Southern jurisdiction claims that they originated in Charleston, South Carolina in 1801, that the body became inactive a few years later and remained dormant until resurrected by Albert Pike in 1867. Then you have the York Rite, or the Northern jurisdiction. They claim to be originated in France and that the first Supreme Council of the world was originated in France in 1756. Under control of the Grand Orient and Grand Council of France, they claim to be governed by the amended Constitution of 1762, which gave the law of the right and which had existed 24 years prior to the time. Albert Pike says his originated with Frederick the Great. Pike Transaction, 1865, page 283. You will see that the Grand Orient of France has once more, with indecent haste, acknowledged as legitimate the Supreme Council of the United States, its territories and dependencies. Although our Supreme Council, I repeat, our Supreme Council, which it thus with alacrity insulted, had a grand representative near it, and it had one near us. They're speaking about the brother in Hawaii who a seer was speaking about helped free a lot of Asiatic and pale slaves. And he was directly connected with Albert Pike. But Albert Pike wasn't connected with the France. He said they directly insulted the grand representative who was in Hawaii, King Kalakaua, which I don't like to really use king because we're dealing with an empire in regards to this badge or this pendant that they were speaking about. He said the Russians plastered the Polish eagle over top of the two-headed eagle. But we know that's facing east and west, or west and east. That's the empire reaching over the great Atlantic, or the Atlantis Ocean, with the great empire reaching all the way over there to here. Hittite double-headed eagle. And it's speaking in regards to the Hittite, Canaanites, the Moorish, Canaan land. It's all connected with the Moors again, because the Grand Orient of France had the protectorate over what they called the Moorish Empire in that part of Morocco, and now it's here. It's all together one empire that they have a colonization project going for all this time. And if the Grand Orient of France was disrespecting Albert Pike and he was claiming he ain't even speak to them, he didn't get his authority from them, then he wasn't involved in that. He said that territory split into three. Those three was those that was willing to fight for what was right, those willing to fight for what was wrong, and those that was willing to be neutral and allow the evilness to keep going. Just like with this letter from Albert Pike. He's speaking of those that are impostors, and they became one of them, has violated his vows of the allegiance to each of our supreme councils, and is a malefactor in masonry, in open rebellion, and has thus by his own voluntary act ceased to be lawfully a member of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. Wherefore you will no longer recognize him as such. nor give him aid, countenance, or encouragement. And so far as you can avoid it, you will hereafter hold no Masonic intercourse with him anywhere, given under the hand of the Grand Commander and co-signed by the Secretary General and the Petty Seal of the Supreme Council affixed. See, there was infiltration going on just like today. You have the so-called Scottish Rite that are bumping elbows with the northern jurisdiction of the Grand Orient of France. The council began in 1857. And 101 years after the rite was originated in France, and 50 years after the United States begun by Joseph Cornell in New York. See, I want to get into the Cornell too, because that's actually a nationality. You have Scottish Rite, but then this Cornell. Was this the Cornish Rite? Because Cornell is Cornish. And he was Joseph Cornell. So let's go over a little bit more of this. If this is good law, what right had Pike's Council to be born in 1857 or exist in 1860 when the United States jurisdiction had been in indisputed possession of the United States for 50 years, besides having a clear title from the Grand Orient or the Grand Council of France with full and ample power to confer and control use these degrees anywhere and everywhere in the United States of America? Because United States had a de facto, as they call it, treaty with France, but then they was really recognized by the Moorish Empire. The Moorish Empire. But also, you receiving authority from the Grand Orient of France before whoever, you got it from people who was colonizing and killing and stealing. And plus, it went dormant. You wasn't teaching nationality. You was still tricking people with the operation of the caste system, The man that was speaking about the Medal of Honor in regards to him saying Russia was colonizing. Russia has a lot to do with North America, if you didn't know. If you go look at your map, Russia has a lot to do with North America. But he already broke down for 2 hours on that interview how he would go to different towns and see the names starting to change different languages from what it used to be. He knew it was starting to get colonized. He said there was people that was sitting out there with suits on, with black fezzes on, and they're dressing the way that their ancient ancestors used to dress. And that's a fez, that's Moorish. We went over the Moorish Magi and the Celtic troglodytes in Austria, in the Austrian caves in Stenich, which also connects to the Munichs who helped the Moors. The Munichs, the Stenics and the Munichs in Austria. Those are the Celtic troglodytes in the salt mines that we went over. Also, this connects, they're all the same people, but this connects with Poland in regards to Wallachia and Kazaklu Bay. He's been popping up a lot in my demonstrations. Wallachia, Kazaklu Bay, and Dracul. But when I find time, I come in here and do a study, brothers and sisters. I leave you in peace and love. Study, 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 and know thyself.